order. Here we go. Now that we're recording in progress, good evening, everybody. I want to announce that item number 7 on tonight's agenda, the training on the ordinance from NACOL, will be canceled due to an illness. Yeah, we're gonna reschedule.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if we're doing that now, but the first item on the agenda is public open time. And this is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that are not on today's agenda. Speakers will have 2 minutes for their comments. Are there any members from the public that would like to provide comment during this time?
Good evening, Commissioners. I urge the Marin County Civilian Oversight Commission to examine the Marin County Sheriff's Office practice of publicly posting jail booking and release information online when there is already a safe alternative available through Vine. Vine already provides victim notifications without broadcasting release of information to the entire public. It balances victim safety with privacy and community trust. Right now, ICE agents are reportedly monitoring these booking logs and release times that's showing up at the jail to detain people immediately upon release. There's been an uptick of that in Marin County as of late. Whether intentional or not, the Sheriff's Office is effectively providing a roadmap for federal immigration enforcement. The Sheriff may be acting within the law, but legality is not the only issue before the Commission. The question is whether this practice undermines the spirit and intention of California Senate Bill 454. SB 54 was designed to limit local involvement in federal immigration enforcement and build trust within immigrant communities. Publicly posted and released information creates an indirect workaround that allows ICE to achieve the same result without coordination. That has real consequences. It discourages victims and witnesses from reporting crimes, creating fear in the immigration communities, and damages trust in local law enforcement. The Commission has authority to review policies that impact civil rights, accountability, and community trust. I ask you to investigate whether publicly posting these logs is truly necessary in its current form, or whether Marin County should instead rely primarily on Vine for victim notifications. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to make a comment?
We're just standing out in the middle here.
Yes.
Okay.
We invite you.
I know. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your service. Thank you for caring about our community and being here after a long work day. I wanted just to remind ourselves, I watched a couple of the meetings that I missed when you all asked about the Inspector General, and you asked if the job offer had been made. And so that was really weird to me that it wasn't answered by staff, because they cannot do a background check until they do a conditional job offer. So I don't know why you weren't told that, but yay, we have someone who passed the background and is starting with us. So that's great. And I also wanted to remind us that this committee was established commission to work with the sheriff. And so you all said, we want to talk to you about your complaint process. And he said, I'd love to talk to you, but you need to invite me. So you spent a couple of months drafting a really nice letter inviting him. And then he said, I'd love to meet with you, but I can't meet with you until there's an Inspector General. So now there's an Inspector General. Let's see if there's another excuse or if he's coming to meet with you, because that was never the intention to have an Inspector General or to not have communication between this commission and the sheriff in order for all of you to be in the communities where you have neighbors and friends and other people who will be telling you what makes them feel safe and protected and what doesn't, and how it's working with the sheriff, what's working, what's not, and to bring it here. And there should not need to be an Inspector General mediating that conversation for all of you to do that. So let's go get him.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else?
the one to have a comment, right?
What's that?
Is the one opening to have a comment?
This is public comment for things that are not on the agenda. So when we go through the agenda, if you wanna, okay.
Right.
Is there anybody on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? You would like to, okay,
Thanks, I'm still catching my breath. I rode over here from the East Bay, so apologies. But I really have some questions about how you set up even this room. There's no podium, there's no, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And if your goal is to invite the community, you basically set up something with a dozen or more chairs. So I'd like to know who made the decision to have this in this room. I also have some questions about the Inspector General that you've hired. Is that on the agenda? So there'll be time on the agenda. Okay, just briefly, I would like to talk about conflicts of interest because that hasn't really been addressed, and it wasn't addressed with the working group, and it hasn't been addressed by this group either. So with the working group, we saw people on, I'm sorry, let me just turn this. We saw people in the working group who had considerable conflicts of interest. People who had been working as deputies in the Marin County and Sonoma Sheriff Department, people who had very close relatives who were working as sheriffs or police officers. This was never explained to us. This was never revealed. I had to run PRA after PRA after PRA to get the information. There is significant conflict of interest on this board. And, you know, as for your very your eagerness to work with NACOLE, the Civilian Oversight nonprofit, I am concerned about additional conflict of interest with your Inspector General. So it seems that you've taken on an Inspector General who is on the board of NACOLE. And this is a group that deliberately and willfully, by their own admission, erased 8 of the 12 meeting recordings just from the working group. There are also questions about, and I'll get to it when we get to the Inspector General part, but there are also reasonable questions to ask about the past history of the Inspector General. I'll bring those up later. But I mean, do you guys think you could put a podium here so people can at least lean on something? Thank you.
I have made a note of that, thank you. Is there any other public comments? Okay, I will officially close public comment. Thank you to everybody that shared. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the draft meeting minutes from the April 13th, 2026 meeting. Our item is there's no staff report, but staff is available to answer any questions from the commissioners on this item. Do any commissioners have questions about the meeting minutes? Okay, I will now open it up to the public for comment. Does anybody have public comment for the meeting minutes from our last April 13th meeting?
Thank you. I would just like to raise the same issue that I'm being forced to raise every meeting, which is that you still are keeping very minimal notes on the meeting minutes. And through this process of not explaining what even the public has to say during these meetings, what you've managed to do is to omit any specificity about the problems that were inherent in the first working group, which is what gave birth to this very flawed process. So if we could go back to the working group, you know, it was never reported. It was never reported in local media. They made a point never to do so, to identify which conflicts of interest existed on the working group, particularly with reference to very tight connections with, you know, the Sonoma County Sheriff, the Sonoma County Assistant Sheriff. It is not acting in good faith to continue to leave this out of the discussion. I've worked extremely hard, put an enormous amount of time and energy into just finding out what happened with the working group. But it seems what you want to do, even though you've been aware of this since you started meeting, what you want to do is bury the broken process that gave birth to this dysfunctional commission. And I obviously find that unacceptable. But you put me in the position because you have never corrected the record. You have never included in the minutes what any of the shortcomings in the original working group were, how it relates to the formation of this broken commission. You're basically putting me in the position of having to come in time and make clear why this isn't working and why you've been stalled. So I would appreciate if you would at least provide some additional input into the minutes.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other public comments for this agenda item? Okay, I will close public comment and move to commissioner discussion on this item, which is the approval of the draft meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Do we vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? The motion carries to approve the meeting minutes from the April 13th meeting. The next item on the agenda is announcements and ad hoc subcommittee reports. We have 2 announcements from staff. After each update, we will ask commissioners if they have any questions, and we will save comments until after the public has a chance to comment. So,
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. First announcement is the update on the Inspector General hiring. And I'm pleased to announce that Marin County has selected its first Inspector General, Ron Alden. Mr. Alden brings more than 25 years of legal and public service experience, including over 17 years in law enforcement oversight. He most recently served as director of the Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach in Sonoma County, where he led oversight of the Sheriff's Office operations, audits, and investigations. He also held leadership roles in Oakland and San Francisco's civilian oversight systems, and he began his legal career here in Marin County as a deputy district attorney. Mr. Alden was selected through a competitive nationwide recruitment and is widely recognized for his commitment to independent oversight, fairness, and community engagement. And I just want to thank the folks that served on the hiring committee for that subcommittee for that role. Really appreciate all your work on that.
Can you name them, please?
And so he is expected to begin the week of May 25th, and we look forward to working with John Alden. That's my report.
do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Hey, Lynn. Will we be inviting him to our next meeting, or is that kind of, will he be here? Is it part of the process? He'll be here going forward.
Yes, he will be the staff liaison for the Civilian Oversight Commission, so he will take over many of the roles that I've been playing.
Right.
Yeah, but I'll still be here to support you always, no matter what. And I'm not sure what role he'll play at the next meeting because it'll be only 2 weeks into his tenure. But when the chair and vice chair and I set the agenda, we'll keep that in mind and think of, the agenda items that will be a good fit for his first meeting.
Can you tell us how much he's being paid?
It's 200. Oh, do we not? Okay. Next,
I have
oh,
a,
go ahead.
at one of our meetings, we discussed having a reception to introduce him to the public.
Yeah, sorry. Grab some water. Yeah, so I am working right now with the staff of the Office of the County Executive to plan out his first month of meet and greets. And we'd like to have those all around the county, definitely one in each supervisorial district. So we'll be reaching out to you and seeing, if you would like to partner with us on a meet and greet out in the district. And then in terms of him having a reception here, I'm not sure, we haven't really started nailing down all the details yet, but it's definitely in the planning process right now. So I'll let you know for sure. And I'll be reaching out to folks.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions? All right, then we will move on to the next staff report about the commission recruitment announcement.
All right. Okay. Finding my notes. Okay, so this is an announcement about our the commission recruitment. So we have opened recruitment for 2 seats on the commission representing supervisorial districts 1 and 2. Applications are open through May 24th, with appointments expected this summer.
No, 1 and 4.
1 and 4. Oh, 1 and 4.
Yeah.
What did I say?
2.
I don't know my own fingers. 2, 1 and 4. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. Community members, especially those with an interest in public service or lived experience that reflects Marin's diverse communities, are encouraged to apply. And that's my update.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions about that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns that are, I just want to make sure that the recruitment is as transparent as possible, because there was a lot of things that I found out, and I did my due diligence. It wasn't until after I was placed on the commission that I found out that the process wasn't exactly, we've talked about this, that the process was not exactly the way that it was advertised. And I really think that that is like the crux of the whole darn thing. So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Because, yeah.
Noted, thank you.
Do you have examples?
I'm sorry?
Any examples you want to share?
Well, the best example that I could give was just in terms of the process in general. I agree with the comments, a lot of the comments that have been made here. With respect to, I feel like there was a lot of stuff that was not exactly forthcoming. It doesn't affect my commissionship, and you know, I'm here, sorry, I'm not going anywhere. But I do feel like the county could have been a little bit more forthcoming in terms of what the process was. How much was decided before the commission got started. And really how much of the recommendations out of the steering committee were not taken into consideration. There once. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I have a comment too.
I'm doing questions.
Question.
Yeah, questions for Beth.
Well, yeah, questions for staff. I'm in agreement. There was a lot of information to me that didn't come out till after we were on the ad hoc committees. And especially all the work that we have put in, for instance, I'm serving on the community outreach committee. And then we prepare everything, and then we were told that we couldn't do anything until the inspector general came on. And so that wasn't in the beginning. I just didn't hear that in the very beginning. And so I agree that in moving forward, especially if you get people to volunteer their time, that everything needs to be transparent and real clear on the processes and who makes the final decisions.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Okay, I will close our question, or thank you for those updates, and I will close our question time and open this up to the public. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to comment on this item? Speakers will have 2 minutes.
Wish I had a podium.
Duly
I just want to say that I'm extremely excited about the Inspector General hire. Reading up on him, he's accomplished a lot. He's worked in Oakland, he's worked in San Francisco, he's worked on both sides. He was, worked for the district attorney, I believe. He, from what I read, he's very collaborative. He's willing to work and build commissions from the, oversight commissions from the ground up. And he's also not afraid to go toe to toe with the sheriff's office, as you can see up in Sonoma County with the IOLero. And I think that's exactly what we need here. Somebody that will be firm when he needs to be, but collaborative. And I just want you all to to really consider what the public is saying and what your beliefs are as far as what you want to be investigated, because I think he's the type of person that can get you there.
Thank you for your comment. Does anybody else from the public have comment? Nobody on Zoom? Okay.
I don't even know where to start. You've hired someone who has a significant conflict of interest, someone who was fired from an oversight position in Oakland, someone who flailed when he was heading Iolero and Sonoma County.
Just want to repeat.
Some of the excuses that were provided for Mr. Alden was that he was, simply too good for his job. And thereby Oakland had to fire him. And thereby he failed in Sonoma County. I would like to inject a little bit of reality into this rationale. Mr. Alden has always been part of the problem. He's a prosecutor. He's a prosecutor in Marin, subsequently in other counties. He was working in Marin, and you guys have been very vague. We have not received a full resume for this guy. We don't have a statement from you about how much you hired him for. He couldn't even be bothered to show up today.
It's in the newspaper.
Now, Mr. Alden, I have asked questions of him for several years, and he has refused to answer any of them, except for a perfunctory set of answers that he provided in the first place. As for the peanut gallery, people who have relationships with nonprofits in the county or wish to apply for jobs within the county, it is very predictable that they will be welcoming almost any move that the county makes. But the reason you're in this position right now is because of the moves that the county has made. And hiring an ex-prosecutor who has repeatedly failed in his civilian oversight roles is absolutely chef's kiss, perfect for Marin County. It is what we expected, and it's why you hired someone who's on the board of the very corrupt NACOLE, N-A-C-O-L-E, the oversight group that bungled the working group process.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm going to take a seat.
Good call.
Somewhat in the middle. So, if, it's been said, if it's true that he is a board member of NACOLE, that is a legit question. NACOLE has a big part of this process, going back a few years. If he was hired, I want to know personally, how does that play? How does that play into him getting hired? Where's the crossover? Conflicts. That's something that should be addressed when he's here next month. Him being a part of NACOLE. And he should also, might ask of you, to ask him to address him being a prosecutor here in Marin County during the time of Marin City residents, Black residents, were under attack at higher rates than anyone else in the state of California. And I saw it. I witnessed it. He was the DA at that time. He should also address that. And I ask that you all ask him that. Don't let the county tell you, oh, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's your board. Don't let the county stray away from those questions because they'll try. So he should address a few of those things. You know, he was a prosecutor during a very, well, it's always been treacherous here in Marin County, but during some of the most treacherous times, we have the data that you received recently. Should be addressed, no doubt about it. So that's all I have to give. In your report out, whose seats when I leave or later, whose seats are up? You said 2 seats are up, but the public, sometimes you give half information. Whose seats are they?
Me.
Me.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to comment on this agenda item? Okay, we will close public comment, this agenda item, and we will open it up to commission discussion of this item. Do any of the commissioners have any comments? I have a question for Solange. What specifically, when you bring up the transparency stuff about the hiring process, what, I want to know.
Well, I'm just gonna speak for myself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just speak for myself. I feel like there was a lot of information, and like I said, I did my due diligence. That I didn't get until after I was appointed to the commission with respect to how much, quite frankly, how much the sheriff's department had in terms of decision-making before the commission was chosen. And that wasn't really made clear when we were getting the, solicitation to apply. I don't feel like that was the case. I feel like there was a lot of decisions that were made that should have included the commission. Just, we've talked about this when we've had our own meetings here. But that's the major one, is that I feel like I feel like it's county controlled. That's really what it is. And some of that had to do with it. Some people may have not, just speaking for myself, but maybe people, didn't understand the process. I feel like the training should have happened ahead of time. Should have happened a lot sooner. I feel like we're doing a lot of backtracking. And so, yeah, I mean, that I feel like the concerns are legit. They're legit. That's, yeah. So, does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other comments or discussion? Nope. Okay, I will close this item for discussion. The recommendation action is to receive the updates. We don't need to though. We just received that. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the approval of the commission's draft bylaws and code of conduct to be considered by the Board of Supervisors. I'll invite staff to present the report on this.
Right, thank you, Chair McAvoy. So a little bit about the policy framework, because I always like to frame it of how it fits into our ordinance. So this work is guided by Ordinance 3824, which directs the commission, with the support from the Office of the Inspector General, to establish bylaws and code of conduct. So a little bit of background. In October 2025, the commission formed an ad hoc subcommittee consisting of commissioners Dr. Gina Fromer, Tom McInerney, Winston Chan, and Doug Lee to develop these foundational documents. The subcommittee met over several months, beginning in late 2025, with support from NAPOL Executive Director Cami McElhenney. The draft bylaws were refined through commission review and public input, and the draft was finalized in March 2026. And the draft code of conduct was then developed and completed in March and April of 2026. So as the commission has already reviewed the bylaws at a previous meeting, I'm going to focus on the draft code of conduct because that's the new material that's before you today. The key provisions in the draft before you include: 1, requirements around confidentiality and handling conflicts of interest, guidance on public statements and distinguishing commission positions from their personal views. 3 is expectations for respectful public engagement and orderly meetings. And 4 is accountability mechanisms for addressing concerns and reinforcing the boards of supervisors' authority. So together, the bylaws and code of conduct create a comprehensive governance and accountability framework to guide the commission's work for your review and consideration tonight. So another item on the recommendations is the recommendation, if the commission finds that the work is complete, to go ahead and sunset the commission. Or the subcommittee. With approval of these documents, the ad hoc subcommittee will have completed its assigned work, fulfilled its role under the ordinance, and dissolution of the subcommittee is tied to the completion of its assigned work, bringing forward the full draft bylaws and code of conduct, and it's consistent with the standard practices of ad hoc bodies. So at this time, I also want to thank the members of the ad hoc subcommittee that worked on the bylaws and the code of conduct. And I think I could speak for the full commission and staff, just saying thank you for your time and your effort and your thoughtful consideration of the bylaws and the code of conduct. There is an alternative option tonight if you determined that the code of conduct or the bylaws aren't quite ready yet and you'd like to send it back to subcommittee, that is an alternative for you tonight. And so I would request as staff that you would make those recommendations. Let the subcommittee members know which areas you would like to see modified and then brought back at a subsequent meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions regarding the staff report or regarding the drafts? Are we just asking what,
Just questions at this point.
okay. Does anybody have any questions on this report?
I have a question. And I know we talked about this last round, but for the term limits, for people who didn't start out with a full 3-year term, this first term that they have, is that considered one of the 2 consecutive terms they're allowed to serve?
Yes,
Okay.
so the folks that were appointed for 1 year, that is a full term.
Okay.
For the folks appointed for 2, that is a full term.
Okay. Okay.
That's in the ordinance.
Oh, it was. Oh, okay.
Are there any other questions? I have questions specific to certain parts of the code of conduct. Is that
Yeah.
like, okay? There's not page number.
I apologize, but you can go by article number.
Article number 3. For addressing the commission. So the way that reads is like how I just asked Commissioner Solange a question. Is that in violation? Like, is that what this is? Because it says that all remarks during commission meetings shall be addressed to the commission as a whole, but I specifically asked her a question. So is that
Well, this,
something?
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I think Article 3 is public decorum, so that's the public. I think, not us, not within them.
Got you, okay. Okay. Never mind that. No more questions, I'll open this up to public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this agenda item?
I would like to report out. We just need to get like. Pretty obvious questions about code of conduct and how they were formulated. What are the codes of conduct regarding conflicts of interest? Can anyone tell me? I'm sorry, let me ask that again. Because I don't think anyone could hear me. But in your code of conduct, how is conflict of interest addressed? Is there any category in the code of conduct for conflict of interest? Or is that assumed that everyone on the commission would already have a conflict of interest and thereby we wouldn't count it because it's just part of the norm of how things are done in this county? And I ask this because there should have been a code of conduct for the original working group. There should have been a code of conduct, transparency. And we, the public, were locked out of those meetings. Now that they have established a very weak process, the public is allowed into the meetings, but the soup is already spoiled. So if there is not anything in your code of conduct for conflict of interest, I think that you are basically revealing to the public how much contempt you have for them. And I would also point out, we didn't hear from Heidi Merchant today. It is a very serious conflict of interest. That it was not divulged to us that she was not only a deputy in Marin County and Sonoma County, but she was also married at the time she served on the working group to the assistant sheriff in Sonoma County. That's what's called a conflict of interest. That's why it matters in your code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members? Anybody on Zoom? Any other members?
See here. In the code of conduct, I agree, I mean, conflict of interest is, I mean, basic communication and bylaws, I would think, I haven't seen it, I haven't read it, being lazy, which I haven't read it yet, so I imagine it's in there. If not, that's terrible, it is terrible, so I'm assuming it's in there. It is, okay, I'll read it later. And if you've noticed, you know, I know the county fairly well, County of Marin, you know, I've been around for a few years, watching the county, it's government, right? Government's government. If you notice, the two individuals who have 1 year terms, if you notice, you know, see their resume, I don't know them that well, see their resume, their file, right? It's my own opinion. And if you look at the others, people who have the 3 year terms, and they have the, you know, the lawyer behind them and the prosecutors and all of that, you know, probably, in my opinion, probably more county, probably more pro-police, right? In my opinion. So just take into account as you move forward, the 1 year terms, 3 year terms, prosecutors, lawyers, county friendly. It's the County of Marin does. We continue to do that until you, as a body, kind of undo that to the best you can, you know? So, County of Marin, right in your face, you know, it's the most tame, quiet meeting I've been to in a long time. So, pour the wine.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public for this item? Okay, I will close public comment time and move to the commission discussion about this item. Both the bylaws and the code of conduct. Do any of the commissioners? No. No, you.
So the comments that come from the audience, do we bring that up for discussion even?
I don't, yeah, I mean, if you're thinking what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up anyway.
Okay, how do we address that?
So I can take the lead.
Okay,
I think the conflict of interest part is very, very light. I think there needs to be way more included. I mean, right now it just says, in cases of actual or perceived conflicts, the commission may recommend that the county executive office retain outside legal counsel for a specific matter as described in section whatever. I think there needs to be, in this section, there needs to be stuff about, you know, if we have a personal conflict of interest, especially on anything that we're voting on, like that needs to be included. I think requiring that we disclose any conflict of interest on any voting items needs to be in there. And I just think that that needs to be a little beefier. Because, I mean, in taking into account, you know, what some members of the public are saying now or have said before, you know, I think transparency is key. And I think that the conflict of interest part of the code of conduct is where we can kind of rubber stamp that in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not commission, I think a lot of this, conflict of interest, there's a lot, I think, in the ordinance, and so if frankly, if a lot of it is sort of. If you want, we can beef it up, but.
Well, yeah, because this is just talking about
Yeah.
between the county and us and retaining outside counsel, but I mean, in the commission's code of conduct, there should be something in the conflict of interest section about, you know, conflicts that the commissioners have, because we may have, you know, it may come up and it is what it is, but I do believe that full disclosure is important for building even our trust with the public.
I think, building our trust with one another too.
Yeah.
If we have a conflict of interest, we need to speak up, and maybe that should be in there. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't on this committee because I'm not a wordsmith, but,
Hey,
oh, sorry. I was just saying, if any of us have a conflict of interest, we need to say it. And so that should possibly be in that section. I think it would be helpful just to, because I don't know what a conflict of interest is. I mean, there's many.
If you're getting money from the county, that's conflict.
I mean, there's, whether it's money or benefiting in some other, or just a personal tie to something that's, there's, like you said, what constitutes a conflict of interest? I do think that should be spelled out more explicitly in this section. Any other?
I have a comment on Article 2. About public statements.
Vice Chair,
Um,
is it okay if staff responds to some of these comments?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
On the conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Before we move on.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from commissioners and members of the public is that you're recommending more information in this section on conflict of interest. And, I can see how it's very thin. I wanted to reference that the County of Marin does have both a conflict of interest countywide code and as well as a conflict of ethics. And I was thinking that, when we were having these subcommittee meetings, probably should have refreshed everyone's memory that was in the member handbook that you received on your first meeting. So it was a long time ago, but I think that a referral to that code of ethics and that code of conduct, code of conflict of interest code that's published on the website, it's in your handbook. We could refer to that in this section. And I can check we can have another subcommittee meeting if you'd like to see if that would suffice. Or, you could just, it's just a question about if this is enough to go back to subcommittee, or if I reference those, or if we reference those in the text, if that would suffice for you.
So if you referenced it in the text, like, would this be, I'm assuming a copy of this will be online when it's approved, and then there would be a link to the code of ethics and okay.
Similar to how in the very beginning of the code of ethics, there is a reference to the NACOL code of ethics. And if you click through on that, you can see that the NACOL code of ethics does have a section about personal integrity. It says, avoid conflicts of interest, conduct yourself in a fair and impartial manner, and recuse yourself or personnel within your agency when significant conflict of interest arises. Do not accept gifts, gratuities, or favors that could compromise your impartiality and independence. So that's just an example of how it's not written in the text of the document, it's referred to by a link. And so we could pull that out so it lives in the document, as well as referring to the code of ethics and the conflict of interest code that's on the county website. That section is very long. Yeah. So I just want to give you some options, and then you guys can deliberate and let me know what you prefer.
I think the only thing that I feel like needs to be separate from a Marin County, and this is not knowing exactly what is in the conflict of interest in the code of ethics, is that I think it needs to be very clearly spelled out that our independence is from the sheriff's office. Like, that to me is the most important. Like, to have legitimate oversight, it needs to be independence from the body that you're overseeing. And I think that's what's missing in here. Like, just the word independence, I don't think is quite enough. And a conflict is not quite enough. I think that it needs to clearly be understood that it's a conflict between making sure that you are not conflicted by some sort of allegiance to the sheriff's office. So, yeah. Understood. Yeah.
But who pays the sheriff?
Are there any other, okay, just a clarifying.
Yeah.
So in our code of ethics, and it references NACOL or what?
No, I'm sorry, I kind of mushed those together.
Yeah.
So in the code of conduct on the first page, Under the purpose statement, there's a line that says the commission shall act with integrity, independence, impartial judgment, and respect for the public trust, consistent with national frameworks such as the NACOL Code of Ethics, and it gives a link so that folks can read through those. So it refers to those. And then I think what's missing from what I'm hearing in the Article 1 under conflicts number 2 is a reference to the County of Marin's Code of Ethics and conflict of interest that's already existing. And then for Commissioner Sandoval's point, maybe some language around independence from the sheriff's office. That those are 2 additions that could really help explain to folks the standards that the commissioners are held to.
So on that note, I would rather, as a commission, we have our own code of ethics, that if we wanna, take bits and pieces from other things that are already existing, that's fine, but to just say consistent with frameworks such as, I think we should have our own instead of say, hey, we're doing it just like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Too much work. Bylaws.
Well, I've seen the documents that Lynn's referring to, and I thought it was in the ordinance, but yeah, I guess it's a separate thing. There's a lot in there, and it's stuff that you could, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. We can, if we want it, we can bulk this up, put that in.
How similar is it to the county code of ethics? Like, are there distinctions specific to civilian oversight code of ethics?
So this question came up, do you guys remember early on, of what is the difference between the county's conflict of interest and the NACOL code of interest, or conflict of interest, or the whole code of ethics that they have? And I don't remember off the top of my head the analysis that we did, but we did take a look at the 2. One thing just to think about is that the county's code of ethics and conflict of interest statement does apply to this commission already. So just in case that's important for you to think about in terms of next steps.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I would just say that then, like, upon our appointment, just like a reminder, hey, we're obligated to follow this and this.
Yeah, I almost feel like the reference to the NACOL model is confusing things when we already have a county set that applies. And if it is not independently distinct, right, the NACOL one, then there's even less reason for it. So I think we should take this back to the subcommittee and look at that with sort of the general direction from the commission as a whole, that we should put more in, reference the actual things that bind us so that it's just not in the background without context, and we don't need to quote the entire thing, but we can put something in the middle.
Yeah, like a little blurb, and then have the links to, I'm assuming both are on.
Like, this is what it includes,
Yeah.
not limited to boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
People say, okay, well, obviously, there's a conflict, you gotta disclose it. Things like, that's all in there. And
Yeah.
we're bound by that already.
Right.
But we can, something like that, and then also put the link for the complete list. Here's the link.
If you wanna take a deeper dive.
Great.
Okay.
This is, all the subcommittees are awesome. So I'm excited to get to meet with them again.
Another meeting.
Are there any other, I have more comments, but I will leave the floor.
On this agenda item, or because I have something on another item.
You mean the article? Yeah, go ahead. No, I have something under Article 3.
Okay, so under Article 2, for public statements and representation, and I think I brought this up at the last commission meeting, the work that our ad hoc community outreach committee prepared on how we planning on reach the community at large in each of our districts. Does this Article 2 addresses, we have to work in coordination with the chair, secretary, or the inspector general before we start presenting our materials that we work so hard on to get it out to each district.
I think the spirit of this section is that communication that goes out to the public from commissioners in their official capacity is generally understood and agreed upon, so that there's equal, communication out into the community. So that doesn't mean every item needs to go before the full commission, but maybe running it by the chair and the staff liaison before moving forward with some communication to members of the community.
I would also think that if you're executing on a public outreach plan that we've all said we should all do, I think you are empowered
Yeah.
to then be speaking on behalf of the commission.
I think some of it was still a little I know we approved it, but there were some areas that needed a little bit more tightening up. So should I just get with you and?
Yeah.
Let you?
I think the general sense here is to work in collaboration and work together so that, you know, no one's surprised if they see some communication pop up in the district and they're like, wait, what was that? That's not what we said. You know, just to make sure we're the commission, staff liaison, it's all in alignment.
Okay.
I have, under Article 3, under prohibited conduct, just really simple, I would also add discriminatory. It's abusive or disruptive, but I would also add, which could be abusive, but I think it's important to have that specific word. Okay, and then in Article 4, where it says chair, vice chair, secretary, is that referring to the staff liaison, or are we supposed to have?
Yeah, no, the secretary, in the bylaws, the secretary is identified as the staff liaison.
Okay,
And so in the absence of a staff liaison, you could elect a secretary, but the county will always provide us a liaison.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, so under number 2 for disciplinary action, this is the commission may address concerns consistent with its bylaws and applicable law as detailed in the commission bylaws. A recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to remove a member requires a 2/3 vote. And maybe I need to refresh my memory in the bylaws, but is there a middle ground in that? Or is it like something comes up and someone, you know, can recommend the removal? I mean, is there anybody? Cause it just references the bylaws, but I'm not sure where exactly I should look in the bylaws.
Find where it is in the bylaws.
Is it under removal?
It's in the Article 3 membership. Number 7.
Okay, so then I guess it doesn't really answer my question is that, I don't know, that process isn't clear to me. I mean, is it just like an issue comes up and, you know, without any type of middle ground, it just can go straight to the Board of Supervisors?
Well, I believe it would have to be agendized if the commission were to vote on it. And so then there would be deliberation and discussion before the vote.
Okay.
And then it has to be a 2/3.
Third, yeah.
Well, it seems to say that the commission has to vote first.
Yeah,
And then it goes to the Board of
Yeah.
Supervisors.
I just didn't know if there was like a step before that, but I guess the discussion, yeah.
Recommendation has to come from the commission.
I'm guessing that there would be a lot of conversation from like the agenda setting meeting to the actual meeting, and then an open discussion at the actual meeting, and then a vote.
Okay,
So there's a lot of time.
okay. Also, okay, does anybody else have any other comments on this part? I have a question. Can we vote to, by the way, thank you. I had a lot of suggestions for the bylaws. And I spent time with county staff going over those thoroughly, and I want to thank the subcommittee for incorporating those, because I know it was a lot, so I appreciate you taking my input. Can we vote to approve just the bylaws, or do we need to do them together? Because I think there needs to be work done
They can be separate if you'd like to adopt the bylaws tonight.
Okay, I think that would be a step in the right direction. I will close the discussion. Do I have a motion to approve the commission's draft bylaws?
Motion to approve.
And do I have a second? Second. And do you need to do the roll call vote? Okay.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Commissioner Promer, Commissioner Gaston,
Aye.
Commissioner Siuslac Sandoval,
Aye.
Commissioner Oldham Robinette, Commissioner McAvoy,
Aye.
Commissioner Echeverria.
Aye.
Commissioner McInerney, Commissioner Chan.
This motion carries on, I didn't keep count, but I think unanimously. And we will direct staff to schedule another code of conduct subcommittee before sunsetting that.
Sounds good.
Perfect. And we will move on to the next agenda item, number 6. Informational report on the use of flock safety system by the county, by Marin County Sheriff's Office. I'll invite the staff to present on this item.
Thank you, Chair. So the item before you is informational and intended to help the commission understand what a flock safety system is, how it's used, and to provide broader context. The recommendation tonight is to receive the informational report. So a little bit of policy framework. The Commission's authority to review this topic comes from Ordinance 3824, which includes responsibility to monitor and make recommendations regarding Sheriff's Office practices, policies, and compliance. It also ties to your Commission work plan, which emphasizes research and learning in your first year to support informed and credible oversight. So how did we get here? This item was brought forward following community correspondence in March 2026. And then you held a discussion at your April meeting where your commission requested staff provide an informational report to better understand the system. Specifically, commissioners requested a general overview of the flock system, what the system is and how it's used, information on camera locations, system capabilities, and context regarding use in other jurisdictions within Marin County and the broader Bay Area. So this report that I'll give will start with a brief overview of the materials that were presented to the Board of Supervisors by the Sheriff's Office in 2023. And I believe Commissioners Gaston and Vice Chair McAvoy may also wish to share their additional research, which was all included in your packet. So background, in November of 2023, the Sheriff's Office proposed at a Board of Supervisors meeting and the board approved a contract with Flock Safety to provide fixed automatic license plate reader or ALPR system to deploy fixed cameras in unincorporated Marin County. The system was presented as an investigative tool that identifies vehicles associated with crimes and generates alerts for when those vehicles are detected. The stated purpose was to deter and prevent retail theft, vehicle theft, and theft of vehicle parts. So, little overview of the flock safety system. According to the Sheriff's Office's report, the system uses license plate recognition to capture still images of vehicles. It does not record video or provide live streaming. It is designated to identify vehicles, not individuals. Alerts are generated when the license plate is on a hot list, is detected. Cameras are deployed in fixed locations. The system is used to identify vehicles involved in crimes and notify law enforcement when those vehicles are detected. And it is also used to identify wanted vehicles to assist in solving crimes. The camera locations, they're indicated on page 3 of the staff report. So based on the information provided by the Sheriff's Office, you can see that locations are selected based on crime data. That is also included in the Sheriff's Office's packet from 2023. Cameras are placed in entrances and exits to neighborhoods, and identified areas in unincorporated Marin County are Marin City, Strawberry, Tamalpais Valley, Green Bay, Santa Venetia, Marinwood, Lucas Valley, and parts of Novato. So a little bit about the system details and the data handling. So again, according to the Sheriff's Office's report, the system is subscription-based and includes installation and maintenance. The data is encrypted, stored in the cloud, and automatically deleted after 30 days. The Sheriff's Office retains ownership of the data and determines access, and the vendor states that it does not sell or share the data. And you'd also asked for use in Marin County in the Bay Area. So similar systems are widely used. That's in a list on the last page of your staff report. Multiple law enforcement agencies across Marin County use the technology. There's community and HOA systems that exist, and in some cases may also be accessible to law enforcement. And that the technology is also used by agencies across the broader Bay Area. So that concludes my overview of the staff report and the Sheriff's Office materials from 2023. And I will turn it over to the commissioners that would like to present their research on this item.
Thank you. I want to briefly raise the topic that many community members have approached me about the flock cameras. And this presentation, and I did some research about just the entire camera systems in Marin County. So it is great to know that there are 31 cameras throughout Marin County, that just not in the unincorporated areas, but also in San Rafael and Nevada. This presentation is not against public safety, but we do need to be concerned how we address the community and what they are really expressing to us about public trust and privacy. So one of the main concerns that has come to me is like, of course, how the data is stored, who accesses information, how this is shared, and the long-term implications, and especially when it comes to federal immigration enforcement. And even though the current policy says that ICE does not have direct access to the system, but California law prohibits use of this technology for immigration enforcement. But despite these protections, there are still concerns in communities. So I would like to know how we would address those concerns, especially when it comes to immigrant families and communities of color like Marin City with the entry and exit points. And how do we deal with those fears? Because they are fully grounded, but how do we balance public safety and the community concerns?
One article that I looked at is from the ARC, and it's included in the packet. And it's a very lengthy article, but it goes over a lot of very important information regarding the issues that come up with the flock camera systems. The article starts off by talking about how the ARC did an audit report of Tiburon's flock camera usage, and when Tiburon did its own internal audit, it came up with 18 it came up with, okay, when the ARC did it, it came up with 41 agencies accessing the data from the flock system, which was 18 more than what the internal audit showed, which just goes to show that like even when internal audits are done, like they're very lacking, and they're not thorough based on how specific the audits have to be conducted to come up with all the accurate information. And it said that there were a little over 16,000 potentially illegal searches in Tiburon. Mind you, this is just one city, and so if we're looking at all of the jurisdictions that the sheriff's office has these flock cameras in, but I can only imagine. I don't have the audit information for the sheriff's office. I don't know if it exists, or if there have been any audits conducted recently. I would like to see that information. But one thing that I want to bring up from this article is that it highlights Mill Valley once privacy issues started to come up, Mill Valley restricted their access specifically to only Marin County law enforcement agencies. And if you go on the sheriff's website, I mean, it's the flock data portal or whatever it is. And it shows that while the information disclosed on the website says that there's no information being searched by out-of-state law enforcement agencies or federal law enforcement agencies, which I would have to question if that's accurate. It does show that they're sharing data throughout the entire state of California, which, I mean, I understand its importance, but in reading this more and reading more into what are called the hot list searches, I believe they're called, which is where if an issue comes up, there's a stolen vehicle or an abduction of a, whoever, and there's a specific license plate attached to that incident, then if that vehicle passes a flock camera, then the information is detected like right then and there in real time. But what I have concern, what the article, after reading this article, one of the things I had concerns with is people being able to go back and look at people's location history and like being able to track people. There was something about a law enforcement officer that was using this data to track his girlfriend, track an ex-girl, like all these different things. And yes, he's law enforcement, but I just, there's too much wiggle room. There's too much opportunity for invasion of privacy, especially to be sharing this information all across California. And that is my very biased.
So again, back to some of the research, especially balancing the public safety and privacy and the question I would like to ask, is there any annual public reporting? How do we educate the community about how this system works? How is the data shared? And can we get these reports from the Inspector General now or the Sheriff's Department? Or will there be independent oversight and audits? And how do we keep this dialogue going? Because again, it's not against public safety, but we also do need to be concerned about what the community's, the privacy issues.
And I believe in the article, it mentioned that there were license plates captured more than 400,000 times. I don't exactly remember. I think it was from July to December or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. And there were only 948 hot list matches out of that 400,000. And so you have the majority of innocent people's information being captured. While it's a very, if we do the math, which I'm not a math person, but it's a small percentage. But yes, so are you done with your report?
I'm pretty much, I'm just feeling that there still need to be some more work, information gathering and also reporting, and this is more work to be done on this.
It may make sense to start like a subcommittee, once the IG is on board, to actually perform our own like deep dive into it and try to understand some of these questions. I'm just saying it may make sense once the IG is on board for us to form another subcommittee to examine the flock system, to get into the kind of nitty gritty, answer some of our questions, to figure out are there regular audits? Maybe there should be. Is that something we could participate in? And then it's also part of the outreach program to educate the public on what that commission finds. But I think it sounds like there's a lot more work to do on this. Yeah.
Are there any questions from any of the commissioners on either the staff report or on our report? No?
I got my question for Lynn. Everything that I saw that you guys pulled from the sheriff's office directly was from when they were considering implementing it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everything that you pulled from the sheriff's office was from the period of time when they were considering implementing the cameras. So we have nothing available now about how they're operating or any updates on like how many cars they capture, like anything where we have no current usage information available.
I couldn't find anything in the, like, things that had gone to the board, like updates that had gone back to the board. But I'm not sure about if there's other things that are out there or available, but I could look for those.
There is a flock data portal on the sheriff's website.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, yeah, it's like vehicles detected in the last 30 days within sheriff's jurisdiction is over 400,000, and that's just within a month.
Okay.
And it does go over the number of hot list search or hot list hits and searches and all that. Now I will open this up to the public. Are there any public comments on this agenda item?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Morgenthaler. I live in Strawberry, where several of the sheriff's flock cameras are deployed. I am not ideologically opposed to ALPR technology. I have an ALPR Unify on my house. My concern tonight is not with the technology, it is with this vendor. I want to acknowledge upfront that 2 minutes is not enough time to address what is now an ever-expanding record of breaches of trust by flock safety, proven lies to elected bodies, documented security failures, and a corporate culture that treats oversight as a threat. I will do my best, and I will submit detailed written materials for the record. We just heard that this system identifies vehicles, not individuals. The Commission should know that Flock has announced that every LPR camera in their network can be converted to a full capital V, capital C, TM video camera through a free software update. No new contract, no board approval, no public comment. Flock's video cameras feature people detection and AI analytics. That distinction is one software update from disappearing. We don't know all these ALPRs that are all around us. They say they're ALPRs, they're looking at QRs. Ooh, you flip one switch, nobody's the wiser. Bob's your uncle. That thing is now looking at facial detection. When independent researchers discovered Flock's employees viewing camera feeds of children in gymnasiums and daycare centers after Flock explicitly told clients its employees cannot access their data, Flock's response was not accountability. When a Flock representative was sent to Prescott, Arizona City Council, he denied proven security breaches point by point. And when the ARC exposed SB 34 violations in Tiburon, Flock's response was to make auditing harder, per Ms. McAvoy's point. Replacing searchable records with drop-down menus that make every search appear compliant by design. I'd also note that any efficacy claims that the Commission hears tonight are self-reported by Flock. They have not been independently verified. I have a whole bit about the Sheriff's Office and the 2022 lawsuit and some concerning things I've heard recently. This conversation needs to continue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Great. What is happening with flock cameras in Marin County is no longer a hypothetical privacy concern. It is a documented breakdown in oversight, compliance, and public trust. A recent investigation found that 41 California law enforcement agencies conducted more than 16,000 potentially illegal searches of Tiburon's flock camera data in just 6 months. These were not isolated mistakes. They included searches tied to federal agencies, immigration enforcement, drug task forces, and out-of-state entities. Despite California law restricting this under SB 34 and SB 54. Even more concerning, the system itself is being redesigned in ways that reduce accountability. Flock replaced clear search descriptions with drop-down menus that can obscure intent, and has removed officers' identifiers and license plate details from audit logs. Changes experts at the Electronic Frontier Foundation more may put agencies out of compliance with state law. If a surveillance system cannot be meaningfully audited, it cannot be trusted. Marin County Sheriff's Office. Marin County Sheriff's Office should immediately suspend use of flock cameras until there is clear assurance that data is not being shared directly or indirectly with federal agencies, immigration enforcement, or out-of-state entities. At a minimum, sharing should be restricted to Marin County jurisdictions only, like Mill Valley. Because once this data leaves local control, residents lose oversight of how it is used, including immigrants, protesters, and ordinary residents, and people seeking, women seeking medical care. That's horrifying. The Civilian Oversight Commission has both the authority and responsibility to investigate this. Public trust cannot exist without accountability. Definitely talk to the IG about this. I think it's something that we need to look into with you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody?
Since you are all on this oversight commission, and since many of you have experience working as prosecutors, perhaps some of you can explain what Cellbrite is. Can anyone tell me what Cellbrite is? What is Cellbrite? Cellbrite is the Israeli surveillance tech that our sheriff has been using for years. I ran a PRA on Cellbrite communications to and from the sheriff back in 2024, and I received thousands of pages. I think it's now at tens of thousands of pages of correspondence. Unlike Flock, Cellbrite can go straight into your phone without a prompt. You can populate your phone again, pull your data. That's a lot more invasive than Flock, and I'm not saying that Flock is good. I'm wondering why there is suddenly this passionate, organized response against Flock, but no question about the Israeli surveillance tech Cellbrite, which has been in use for far longer. I think that's a reasonable question to ask. And if you are looking at Flock, then I think it is reasonable to ask why you are not providing a report on Cellbrite. That's not the only Israeli tech that's being used right now by law enforcement in the US. But it may have been used in combination with Paragon, Pegasus, the Graphite program to target, the great martyrs, liberal martyrs who were killed in Minneapolis and Twin Cities. This is, for some reason, not a popular topic with the indivisible groups and the people who are organizing people to rightly be concerned about Flock. So equal time for these other surveillance technologies too.
Very common.
Okay, I second the 2 minutes is not enough. I encourage you to look through, because you'll be working with the sheriff's office, things like the equity impact they wrote for Flock cameras. The first sentence says the target area for this project will be evaluated based on documented crime patterns and areas of high crime activity. We know from the data, and you've heard at these meetings, that BIPOC individuals, Black, Indigenous, Latinx, people of color in our community are overpoliced for doing the same things that happen in white communities and not necessarily doing anything at all that's illegal, like having a cover or not having a license plate. So this is inherently not equity in the equity impact. One of the previous speakers talked about the ACLU sued and won a case against the previous sheriff for sharing automated license plate reader data with federal and out-of-state people in violation of the rules. That is still happening with Flock, which Flock would not sign your code of ethics that you talked about tonight or your code of conduct. They want to set up a mass surveillance system in our nation. They have, police can use, like, we heard someone say they have a camera on their house, like they can ask you for your camera footage. So some neighborhood associations have Flock cameras, But communities that are already over police are overrepresented in where the flock cameras are. And we have to ask, does that make us safer? Our sheriff's office just a few years ago violated policies. And these departments that are violating policies don't all know. So Flock told them, we turned off the switch, you can't share outside of California even if you wanted to. Not true. People were still hacking in. So please do audits to make sure that we're being safe, not surveilled.
Thank you for your comment.
Accountability, for me, as was just said, equity. In the community of Marin City, it came before the Board of Supervisors. And my friend Felicia, you spoke in favor of it. You spoke in favor of Flock into Marin City. Which to me, I'm gonna hold off when I think about it. Terrible. When I brought it up 2 months ago, you spoke in favor of it again. The community that you know as much as anyone has been over-policed. That's an understatement. So what I'm asking this commission to do is, besides just talk, it seems like you wanna communicate more and communicate more. And I don't know if Sarah's gonna be around. You guys are on this committee together. I'm not sure if you're gonna be around longer. I have no idea what's gonna happen in your next term after a year, 3 years. You have the year, of course. If you seem to want to do the right thing, the right recommendations. If for some reason you are not here, I worry. Someone very conservative who takes your seat is on this committee and takes this conversation somewhere else. So I asked this commission, the from the super conservative, the ones who are not so conservative, to, if Sarah is not on this committee again, step in, the non-conservative ones, because this can go left. The county, my friend, your county part. What would that look like? Coming up with recommendations, coming up with true information, reality, equity in the community.
Thank you for your comment.
Marin City, not good.
Is there anybody else? We have someone on Zoom.
Hi, Tammy Edmondson from MV Free. I want to echo what's been said about you need to take a deeper dive into this. Please have a look at Santa Clara County. That's the Silicon Valley. They know the dangers that this technology poses. They have adopted a stringent process and criteria for approving any surveillance technology. And when they tested Flock under that process, it failed and they forbade its use. And they're not alone. More than 60 cities have recently quit Flock. Somebody asked about an audit. MV Free recently obtained a sheriff's Flock audit data from 2025 in a Public Records Act request. And that reporting, we discovered, is so deficient as to be utterly meaningless. Often the sheriff's deputies don't put in the purpose of the search, which is required by the Department of Justice, and whole categories of required information are omitted, while others were entirely improperly redacted. Somebody had mentioned, yes, Flock tracks 460,000 cars in Marin County every month. The sheriff's use of Flock in 2025 went from 197 searches in January to more than 2,800 in December. And even if Flock is set only to track cars, it is tracking people. When your license plate number, when Flock has your license plate number, they know who you are and they can map your movements throughout the county 24/7, no warrant, no probable cause. And it's been said, if you live near a high crime area, every trip to or from your home places you under a cloud of suspicion, which compounds racial inequities. This powerful surveillance technology demands powerful regulation, and I suggest you look at the immigration context. It has been said that the State Values Act prohibits the sheriff from sharing flock data with immigration authorities, but it took a lawsuit in 2022 for the MCSO to agree to follow that law.
Thank you for your comment, Tammy.
Oh, as they said, 2 minutes is never enough.
Are there any more folks on Zoom? Anybody else from the audience that would like to comment? I will close public comment on this item and open it up for commission discussion.
Definitely, since I definitely was called out, which is very understandable. Which is the reason why I chose to be on this committee, so we could do more research. At that moment, I did not know all the details when it came to the flock system. And that's why I specifically said I wanted to do my own research. And after I'm doing the research, there are many questions that I have, and which I would bring into this committee, that we should, definitely look at more public reporting, how the data is shared. I'm definitely concerned about what the community concerns are. And I definitely would like to be on a committee to do some more research and recommendations.
Any other commissioners?
I'm concerned that the sheriff's report was different than what came out in the article, and I would like to have that explained. Why there's such a huge disparity in the numbers. I think it's a valid question. Yeah, and I'm gonna just leave it right there.
I'm just frustrated. I feel like I'm frustrated that we have been on this commission for like 6 months and we can do nothing. I'm frustrated that we don't actually know what is happening. We have no real data about what's actually happening with flock in the sheriff's office. We have no idea what the policies and procedures are like for sheriff's officers to use flock. We have no idea how they keep their audit logs for the flock access. We have no idea who they've decided to share it with. We just don't really know anything specific to the sheriff's office and specific to the office we're supposed to be overseeing, because we don't have an IG. And I'm frustrated by that, and I know that it's happening. I know he's coming, but I'm still frustrated because it just feels like we keep sitting here having conversations and we can't do anything. Because really, even if we sat here and all of us said we want to recommend the sheriff gets rid of flock, and I'm not saying we should recommend that, I don't feel like we know enough, but even if we sat here and said that, we have no way to propose that to the sheriff's office without an IG. So I'm frustrated by that. And
Is there anything preventing you from running a PRA?
Yep, that anyone can do it. I think that's not we are supposed to have more teeth than that, and it's the IG that has the teeth.
How did the newspaper do it and not you?
We're not taking
It's
public
just-
We're not gonna have a
public comment.
It's a
we're gonna have a discussion with the public.
It's a fair question.
That's all I have to say.
I would kind of piggyback, it's been very frustrating, but what was more frustrating, I mean, the documents that we got were from 2023, and it would have been helpful to have 24, 25. Instead of 2023, when, we were told to watch the presentation from years ago, and I did, while I was folding laundry. I saw you in there, I saw a few of you in there, but, yeah, what's more helpful is what's happening now.
Yeah.
And how it has been or hasn't been used, that's what's important.
I definitely, I agree. I definitely agree with the frustration. And, I want to be like, oh, let's get another subcommittee together. But then it's like, I feel like there's already so much that the subcommittees have done that's like just waiting on the incoming IG's plate. And like, do we even know when the operational agreement is gonna be set up? Do we know, is the sheriff comfortable now to come in? Like, we have the IG, that was the issue. What where are we with all that? I think would be, my questions and my concerns. I do think we obviously need to take a deeper dive into this. We do need to I would love to get the audit report from MV Free. I know she said it's definitely there, it's deficient, I think she said. But I would at least like to get that, and then, there does need to be an updated audit report, and I mean, to piggyback on what some of the concerns were brought up, like if these are in I don't know what it was called, high crime targeted area or whatever it was called, I wrote it down somewhere in there. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of frustration regarding this. I think there's a lot that needs to be done. But at this point, I don't know where to go from here. Because it's like I said, there's so much on the IG's plate already. He's not even here today. He's already been hired. We're,
May 25th.
May 25th he starts.
oh, okay. Well,
So can we request, well, let me back up. Do we have to have another committee, or can we just request some of the information that we have been discussing this evening? Like the current data sharing policies, the current reporting, the statistics, and are there any audit reports? Yeah, I mean.
I
what
can
can we do?
definitely make that request to the sheriff's office.
So can we-
And
we
then
get
we have
this-
to go to since the inspector general, would it all be together now?
So I know I always go back to the ordinance, but if you don't mind, I just want to pull up the section on the ordinance that gives you the authority to do the work that you're wanting to do. And this is the commission's duties and power. With the advice, assistance, and support of the Inspector General, develop and carry out a system and process to actively and continually monitor, report, and issue recommendations regarding the Sheriff's Office's compliance with all applicable policies, procedures, training, practices, and governing laws.
So basically, we have to get with the IG to set up a process to do this process.
That's not what it says. It says you can do this, you can make these requests, you can ask for information, you can review the policies and procedures as you see fit. You have been given the opportunity to access the IG's assistance on that. So you guys have the authority to decide what you want to do.
So with these asks, is there any obligation to respond, like, in a complete way to these asks that we make?
So under the Public Records Act request, they have the obligation to respond.
But that's them providing whatever they already have. That's not doing like an additional, more thorough audit report. That's just getting records that already exist.
You also have subpoena power that was specifically granted to you by the ordinance that you can exercise.
I mean, also, just to be clear, the body that would audit the sheriff's office is the IG. There is no other body that would audit the sheriff's office, correct? So,
I mean, you're saying audit.
I mean, we're saying, can we get an audit of the clock system? Like, has an audit been
The
done?
searches and yeah.
Like, that would be performed by the IG who does not yet exist, correct?
You have the ability to request the IG to do that.
Okay.
All right, well, let him know that's.
Wait for the IG. That's.
All right, well, okay, I think that's something that could definitely be on our agenda, because he will be at our next meeting.
Yes.
Well, then there we go. Get to it.
So
If I could just make a request, when for the last meeting, I went back and listened to the whole meeting and really like wrote down every word that you had requested of staff. And so if you don't mind just reiterating what is the request of staff for information, just so that as we have, this period of time until this is agendized again, that staff can really understand what it is you're seeking.
Well, I think it's not that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's not that we're requesting existing, I mean, to get the report from MV Free, the audit report, that's one. But instead of just requesting existing information I think we would want a more thorough audit done of the flock searches and.
Well, here it says clear data sharing policies. Like, where is it being
I
shared?
think that might, I mean, their policies and procedures, I believe, is on the website. Cause
What is it?
But
But how the block system is really working, like, how do we educate the community about it? And the statistics, any statistics?
I mean, I think if I were to put together an audit, I feel like the things that I would want to know, but maybe the appropriate request is just to tell the IG we would like him to audit. And he can develop it. I think I would like to understand like what policies and procedures are written about the sheriff's deputies' use of the flock system. How are those tracked and monitored? Are there audit logs kept of who accesses what? Does the sheriff's office have access to those audit logs? If they do, how often are they checked? Are they randomly monitored? Are they not? How long are those audit logs kept for? Are they at some point purged? Do the sheriff's deputies have to state that they are working on a specific case when they're accessing information, or is it as part of the policies? Those, on top of my head, those are the things I would want to have an understanding of. But I think there's more that I would come to me if I got there, but that's my like initial.
That's really helpful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and on their website, I think that, I don't know, if this is part of that, but it says access policy. All system access requires a valid reason and is stored indefinitely. So that would mean that they have, anybody that's trying to access their information, they have all of that.
So are those access logs working the way that they should be?
Yeah,
Those types of things. But that's, I think, if the IG was to do an audit, those things would be income.
What's the difference between an audit and a PRA? You guys need to
Thank you,
differentiate
that's really
these
helpful.
terms.
do any other commissioners have, do you have
Well,
more?
I have a comment, which is that I think making some of these high level requests seems appropriate and, you can go through staff that on a monthly basis, but I think to accomplish the thing that I hear most of the commissioners talking about and the public talking about, we just have to make a decision. Are we gonna conduct an investigation? I'm gonna delegate that to the IG. I'm gonna do both in parallel. But if we're gonna do anything, I think we just need to do a subcommittee, because I think the subcommittee needs to meet on a more regular basis and discuss granular requests, discuss what the goal is, what they want. I think it's very unwieldy to do it in this sort of brainstorming out in the open.
So with the IG coming in, does the commission want to form a subcommittee regarding this?
Yeah.
Like for meeting.
The IG here, let them know this is, we need to prioritize things with him once he's on board. I suspect this is something that we want to get on board right away.
Right.
I would have said it was the
SCAP.
the SCAP, which I was on that subcommittee, but that's sort of been tabled since they're kind of scrapping it, sort of. We still have questions on that. But I think this thing is actually sort of very current. I think we ought to have a priority list and
We also have the training curricula, we have a. Can we get a list of all the things that we're waiting for? Yeah.
this sits over to Commissioner.
Yeah.
That just, we started this process before we had the IG, so it was all these things that are built up, we haven't been able to do anything. Now
So
coming on board, we need to focus in on what we want to work on.
let's set up another monitoring and compliance subcommittee.
That's what we were calling it.
Yeah, with the specification of looking into flock.
Who's on that committee?
We're setting it up right now.
All due respect, you shouldn't be on the committee. You spoke for it.
Nothing.
You spoke for it.
Okay,
There,
I wanna be on the.
You spoke for it. Shouldn't be.
Okay, so can we, for people that are interested, are we setting this up right now? Is that what we're doing? No?
We can set it up right now, right?
You can give direction to us to meet. You do have an existing committee that's very similar to this, it just has a different mission. So if you could just get some direction to us on whether or not they should, you can give direction to that commission, whether or not they should pivot. But taking a formal vote on the mission isn't an agendized item today, so you can get it started. And I would recommend maybe telling the already formed committee that is looking at issues to pick it up, and then for your next meeting, we can agendize it and decide to have a formal subcommittee on a specific issue or allow them to run with the other.
But I think what we talked about is we could have multiple monitoring and compliance subcommittees going with different themes.
Yeah,
It just means we can't do it now because we didn't agendize it.
Right, okay, so we'll,
The original idea we had discussed when you had stood up the SCAP subcommittee was that there are always going to be issues, and if one subcommittee is just always looking at issues, then that becomes like a standing committee because there's no time or deliverable that says this is the end. And so then it's not an ad hoc subcommittee anymore, it's a standing committee. So the idea was to have them be issue specific, so then when the report or recommendation was made to the full commission, then that group would sunset, similar to how we have done with the hiring group, and we will at some point be doing with the bylaws and code of conduct subcommittee. So that was the
So
we can't form it right now.
an agendized item for next meeting to appoint a committee, and in the meantime, direct the existing subcommittee to handle any issues that come in on the flock issue until you can appoint a standing sub.
We've created subcommittees in the past that haven't been agendized. We've created them, like when we did the bylaw stuff, we created like 4 subcommittees all at once during one meeting without it being on the agenda.
Yes, it was on the agenda.
Yeah, it goes on.
To create it.
To discuss,
Discussion of it.
discussion
and
of it,
then
it would,
we-
yeah. I mean, I guess you could say we're, flock is on this agenda right now, but. Anyway, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember it going like that, but if we need to put it, oh my God, okay, if we need to put it on the agenda for next time.
It's kind of moot anyway, because you can't really, we need the IG here anyway to really get into the depths of it. We'll request the data, which I think staff will do.
Right. I just think it would be good to have, the group get together, and then when the IG's in, it's like, okay, here's, I'm.
The current subcommittee that's looking at SCAP can do that if they wanted to. We could decide that today if people wanted to do that. If you didn't want to waste the next 4 weeks.
Pivot,
It's not pivot, it's just temporary interim until then vote.
okay.
Can you remind us who's on that subcommittee?
I can.
It's,
I think it's,
All right, monitoring and compliance subcommittee is Reverend Lynn Oldham Robinette, Doug Lee, Sarah McAvoy, and Linda Cieslak Sandball.
okay,
Do we want it?
yeah,
we can do it for now, and then we'll agendize it for next time. If we want to pass it to a different committee, we could start one, yeah.
yeah,
But at least we can get the ball rolling. I think it's a good idea.
okay. So, any other comments?
The thing, this is probably a question for council, but I just want some clarification on our use of subpoena power. And tell me if this is not an appropriate time to talk about it, but I think because it's been brought up, I'm curious, if we are asking for information from the sheriff, that is through an agreement with the sheriff's office that will be drafted by the IG and the sheriff and not through our use of subpoena power. Am I correct in that, or is that wrong?
So you have a Public Records Act request, you have the ability to work through the IG to request the records directly. The IG is gonna work with the sheriff's office to develop a process for that.
Yeah.
So that will be more streamlined in the future once they can work that out.
Would not be through an official subpoena.
Right, you have a number of ways to get the information. You can have staff help you try to get the information. The subpoena happens when you've explored other avenues and you feel like you need to command the records. Okay.
But there's nothing legally that says that we can't subpoena as our first step. It's just, you're talking about practicalities and working with another agency. But really that says we couldn't just decide to subpoena.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Okay, any other comments on this agenda item? Then I will close this item. No vote is needed. We're just receiving information. As mentioned earlier, number 7 on the agenda is gonna be postponed. And the last item on the agenda is to conclude our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
And then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? This meeting is officially adjourned, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you for coming and participating.